Sorry, just pressed it now.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, we'll call the meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. And thanks everyone for joining. As I mentioned earlier, I was not able to send out minutes from our last meeting. I neglected to do so. I will do that for our next meeting. So next meeting we'll have 2 minutes to review and approve. Apologies for that. So we will not be approving minutes this evening. Town technology, status updates, strategy, etc. So I know, Orla, you had some comments you wanted to discuss related to strategy, etc. I thought it'd be appropriate if we discuss that in our meeting today.
So do you want me to kick off?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. No, so I was just, reflecting as you were thinking about agenda topics, and the document that you guys have pulled together before my time, the strategy that kind of outlined the focused areas. I remember reading it when I started and thought, oh, this is a great piece of work in terms of like where the town is trying to go. And I guess my question then was more about, should we be thinking about something proactive that we want to do to bring that strategy to life in working with the committees to say, okay, great, if we want to, I don't know, I don't have it in front of me now, but like smart cities was one of the things, and there was a few other things. Like, what is it that we want to try and align on or commit to as a town over the next 2 to 5 years, or whatever time frame we think we should plan on, and then get the various committees behind that. So I guess it was really about how do we bring the strategy to life through a plan. And what would be the appropriate way to do that? And is it part of our charter and mandate, or is it more we've set the scene and now everybody kind of decides how they want to line up to it? It was more for discussion.
We haven't really updated it for at least a good, year or so. And I think we've learned a lot in the last couple of years through the surveys that we've done and trying to go and talk to the different departments. Mm-hmm. So I think it could be a very interesting exercise to like take each part of the strategy and say, how do we think this could potentially translate to actionable objectives, mm-hmm. and who are the key stakeholders that are impacted by those objectives. I would say it's not something that we've done formally as part of the strategy, but I think it would be an interesting next step to continue to evolve it.
Yeah, I love that. Love that thought. We've been very.
You and I could grab some time, and we could take a first pass at it, and then we could bring it back to the larger group.
That'd be great if Orla and you and Angela would be willing to do so.
Yeah, we could do that.
And I appreciate you bringing it up, Orla. I think this is sort of the next iteration of it. Before, Angela and we put together this tech strategy, and we've been very almost more tactical. Like we've been, okay, we have this. Here's the North Star, and as issues come up, as problems come up, let's weigh it against the North Star, and let's keep that in mind and make sure that whatever we're doing is aligned with that. And so at least that helps hopefully make sure we don't go too far off course, but it doesn't necessarily propel us forward in the direction. It's more anytime we get kicked forward, let's make sure we're kicked in the right direction. So I love the idea of, and we should continue to do that, of course. Anytime somebody else brings up something that needs to be done, like we need some software, we have this problem, let's think about technology. But I really love the idea of if there's things we can be proactive on, and let's think about what those things might be.
Awesome. And, so Angela, you and I can brainstorm on that and come back.
And love, obviously, working with Jay about what ideas he has about proactive in terms of priority. And I know Jay has already put together, you put together how we want to be proactive about moving the cloud, and that's part of it. And I'm sure there's other things you've been thinking about, Jay, as well. So let's make sure we incorporate those.
For sure.
Joe or Yash, do you have any comments on this?
perfectly reasonable.
Yes, you're on mute.
No, this is good. We can continue with that. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Yeah, thank you. All right. Town web properties. My apologies. I should have been logged in already. Okay, website feedback. I think I bumped it up to like 15 or 20% of people soliciting responses if people are willing to give responses. And let me take a look to see if we have any new responses. The last response was on the 11th of April, and it was received via the Senior Center pop-up. So 15% of their visitors get this pop-up. Would you like to give feedback? And they gave no other feedback other than 5-star. So, Jay, are you getting any other emails? Like, are people emailing you saying, I want to give you feedback on it? And if so, do you?
It's been fairly quiet since the initial kickoff. After we had that first burst of like, this, that, and the other, it quieted down after we made a lot of those changes and a lot of training and understanding. Yeah, I haven't seen no emails specifically to me about the website in that sense, at least.
What happened with that request to move more of the historic documents over? Did people end up finding that they didn't actually need additional data, or was more migrated over?
Yeah, well, more was migrated over, just not the entirety of what was initially requested, I believe. But we definitely moved a lot more over. There's, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, I know we paid like a lump sum to get a good portion of past agendas and minutes uploaded in there. So
Okay.
again, there hasn't been any feedback against or for in any way, at least recently, especially with the minutes. I think after that, a lot of people were pretty happy once we got a good chunk of them on there.
Right, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like it goes back almost to like 2016, if I'm not mistaken.
Awesome.
I had a question. Who maintains and updates the front page? And the reason I ask is just before the town elections, I wasn't sure where voting was. So I was like, oh, I'll check the website, see where it is. And there was no mention of the elections that I could see, at least on the website, or because I like searched events, searched different things to see if I could find it. And there was no mention of it. Now, perhaps I missed it.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, because I know that we had a couple things on there besides even the Twitter feed, and also on the town clerk's site. He had updates on
No,
there
I did
as
not
well.
go to the town clerk site, so maybe
Yeah.
that was my issue.
Yeah, and maybe
Because
they
I was
didn't
on
put
the
it up.
main page, and then I was kind of scanning to see where I would look, and I
Yeah,
couldn't see anything, so I was surprised. And I can't remember what I clicked into a few, but not the town clerk. Okay, so that's where I should have gone. Is
And
there a
also,
way, though, for
I was
people
just
to
gonna,
uplift some information to the front page?
yeah, so that's what I was gonna say. Like at the bottom of the page, like a little bit down towards the bottom, there's a news and spotlights, and
Okay.
that's typically updated weekly. Especially like the word on the common is definitely every other week.
Okay.
And typically the select board's office updates a lot of that information on there.
Okay.
And also like obviously the upcoming events for the agendas and stuff like that. And the meetings that are coming up. But yeah, I'm curious now to whether or not someone did put something on because typically it's on the news and spotlights. That's what I was gonna say earlier. Typically it's in there, especially for like elections and stuff. So I'm surprised if it wasn't.
Yeah, I'm on there now looking. Because I bet I was also probably on my phone, which I wonder if that, but the mobile experience is similar, right?
They should
Should
be
be.
exactly the
Yeah.
same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it took me a while to find. I was looking for elections, and I was hoping to find a sample ballot, and I think I found it after on a. I couldn't find it at first, and then I found it later under the clerks. But yeah, yeah, I think there's.
No, I think the only news of the election or any format of notice that I found was not on the front page, but only through the hoardings that were put through the town. That was the only way. And this was also for the town hall meeting. So that was a bit concerning.
That's odd. I think typically, from my understanding, the town clerk, Jim Hegarty, works with Jay and says, "Hey, we're having this upcoming event. Could you make sure that something's promoted?" And so maybe that was missed or
Yeah,
something like that.
I'm
One
definitely
idea is
surprised
that
by
we
that.
have like a kind of a backsplash for the front page. If there is something like a rotating backsplash that we get for the front page, where the pictures are changing when we go through our town library and good pictures of the town, one can be of any important town meeting, like a town meeting or an election or something of that. If it's not there, we'll keep it blank. But with something of
Yeah, or
that,
even if like you could put up a temporary banner, right, for a couple
yeah,
of
or a
weeks as
marquee
well.
that runs through or whatever it
Yeah.
is. Because I don't feel these are things where people need to kind of go to search. If you're going to search for something, then you know that there something exists. Yeah.
Jay, would you mind giving me a sharing permission?
Yeah, I was looking on there. I can't see anything even in the all news because I looked up. But I guess, Jay, I don't know, is that something we could just provide feedback to, is it the town clerk to say for like community-wide or town-wide events such as town hall meetings or elections, could we put a banner up? Do we lose Matt?
1 second. I kicked Matt out because apparently it's not giving me options to give him co-host. So hold on.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to make him co-host, but it's not allowing me to make him co-host.
Can you let attendees, is it possible to change it so that the panelists can share?
Second.
Yeah, somehow I got flagged as host. I don't know how that
Oh,
happened.
All right. You have the
oh,
power
maybe
to.
that's what happened. Can you make me host then?
I just made Matt host, Jason your
Right.
co-host.
All right.
I had the
Nice.
juice, so I just changed it.
I was like, what happened?
Okay.
It was you and me
So-
earlier, so maybe that's why.
Yeah.
It looks like we have this news and spotlight section. I wonder
Yeah.
how these are organized. Are they organized by like event or date when they're posted, or?
It's their slides, and if there was more slides, they would kind of like overlap each other and slide over.
So it's a rotation.
But that's typically where I was saying that a lot of the alerts would be is down here, because we actually, that word on the common is they update that, like I think every 2 weeks they update that. And anything that's usually going on, they'll put it up here.
So the word on the common is a PDF doc that somebody creates.
Yeah, the select board's office creates this form. I think it's a Word document. They just transitioned up there as a PDF.
Oh.
Is there a reason it needs to be a PDF, or could that be just news that's published directly on the page?
It's a PDF. Oh, why is this a PDF? This was just something that the select board's office came up with. Plus, there's a lot of information on here that wouldn't fit necessarily on a splash. So it's more detailed information about the events that are going on.
So then in our reporting, because I know you guys were looking at what reports stats we can get off the website. Is there a way for us to see how many people open this PDF?
I'm pretty sure we can.
That'll be interesting to see, because I feel like when you have to go click once or twice, you lose people generally.
Well, here's the feedback we were looking for, Matt.
Exactly.
Finally, there's feedback, guys.
Should I go fill in a form?
Yes. There shouldn't be just 5 stars. Someone should be saying this stuff. We need to know.
Yeah, no, this is what happens when I spend some time on the page.
Yeah, I agree that if we could, it seems like a doc like this, it's clearly that they're talking about events, right? And they're also talking about news and events, etc.
Yeah.
It seems like the events should
On
happen
in the
should
calendar.
go onto some sort of calendar. Yeah.
Yeah, because there is the calendar right at the front on the first page.
Yeah. How frequently the
PDF was it? Oh yeah, we're done the comment.
Yeah.
So I will say this, it takes data entry in a sense. So I'm not sure if, like, we're not necessarily in the IT department making those changes every day. It would be like the select board's office or
Yeah.
town
Yeah, it would be their
clerk's
office. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just don't know if they're, I cannot speak for that department in saying that they'll delegate the time to put those things up there. I just don't know that. I'll have to discuss it with.
So I'd imagine, right, it's time consuming even to get it into a PDF too and format it and stuff. So maybe
Yeah, exactly.
it
So
could
that's why
save
I'm
them
saying
the time.
Yeah.
It sounds
See
like
what
a
their
workflow
feedback
discussion
is.
to see how some of it's probably comfort and familiarity with CMS versus just what they use, if there's an easy export, so on and so forth.
Or does the right person have the right access to update the website?
Yeah. And related to this
Mhm.
workload discussion, I think this is sort of one example of what a lot of residents have been talking about, like getting information from the town and different boards. Like, does every board and committee have to have their own PDF? And to get information, do you have to search through all the PDFs? Wouldn't it be nice if you could subscribe to topics? And there's some way of being alerted of those topics, and independent of which board or committee or department published them. So yeah, ideally everybody should be able to publish things. Anybody should be able to subscribe to topics of their choice. And they can be broken down into little snippets. So I could say, I want to be alerted anything related to trees in town or scholarships, or volunteer opportunities, and then multiple boards who are publishing could publish events and tag them, etc. So yeah, it sounds like it would be good to find out more stats based on Google Analytics of who opens the Common Doc, how frequently the word on the Common Doc is opened up, and then think about working with the select board. I think we do have somebody in our committee who's delegated, who's sort of the rep to the select board. I'll have to look to see who that is.
It's you and me, Matt.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
So let's take that as an action item. Angela. And I'd love to do whatever we put in place. I'd love to do it so it's repeatable by any board, committee, department, right? About publishing information in consumable chunks, easily consumable chunks, tagging it appropriately, and then being able to subscribe to it. Joe, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I don't disagree about like everything being reduced to PDF and not being very searchable and visible. But one of the things that is good in the current distribution is still the subscription to email alerts because a lot of town folks have said that they like that, and the fact that we still are supporting an RSS despite the a lot of reduction in RSS, so people can subscribe to topics, just not necessarily in all the ways that we may be used to today.
How does the subscription to topics work today? When you, yeah, how does that system work today?
Well, where you're looking at right there, tools, RSS, and Notify Me. The Notify Me is the email alert system, and the RSS is a straight RSS feed. It would be great if the RSS feed didn't have PDFs in it and had content you could parse, but it's like kind of partway there, right?
Okay. Okay.
Do we get statistics on like using the Google Analytics about how many people are actually subscribed to the RSS? I mean, because when I think of RSS, I go 15 years back as to the thing that was great till that time.
I'm guessing we don't even need Google Analytics for that information. Jay, do you have some administrative level access to see subscriptions for each of these feeds, if you will, and which ones are the most popular?
Yeah, I can run reports on each one of these in the system. I can look into that.
And do we have, so looks like we have a list ourselves, which I was not aware of. Do we have the ability of publishing to people who subscribe to the MTC?
Oh, you want to see how many are subscribed to it as well? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you're
And then
looking
how would we leverage that, I guess? Is that based on us updating something on the web page?
Yeah, that's the Notify Me, because the RSS is a different, but that's the Notify Me, which is email or SMS. That was the Civics Plus alerts system.
Okay.
So when would
So
something go, Joe? If we put something new on the website, is that when it would trigger?
So
Or how
it triggers on different modules that are within Civic Plus. So if
like
there's like a widget that's on there that you update that has like the bottom where I said news and spotlights, that's considered like a widget.
Yeah,
So every time someone subscribes to that news and spotlights, and somebody makes a change to this,
change. Yeah,
yeah, news and
got
spot,
it.
it sends out an alert saying that there's been an update, and it's either sends like the PDF or whatever was added to that update will be in the notification. Same thing like if you went to the planning board department, I think, and actually conservation, if I'm not mistaken, is one of them.
Yeah, like
They
the
have like
last alert I got from the email system
so
was
he has
on the
like
16th, which was the planning board update. It was their most recent page up.
So if you look at conservation's page, there's a news and announcement tab, and there's her obviously the agendas and minutes. But anytime she updates, I'm meeting Melissa and Melissa Danza, news and announcements, if somebody signed up for that, you would get a notification of any news and announcements that are coming up. So each page has something set up for it specifically. Like I don't think we have anything on MTC's page specifically for alerts or anything like that. So even if I do run the report, there may not be anything in there to show that people have subscribed. Unless someone subscribed for it, we haven't made any changes. There would be nothing in there to show for it. I'm trying to click on it right now. Yeah, besides our agendas and minutes, that would probably be the only notification they would get.
Gotcha.
Do various boards and committees have ability of publishing things on their own page?
Yes. As an example, Historical Commission was in recently with Hassan, getting some training / doing updates with Hassan on the page to make different, verbiage and ads to the historical page.
So historical commission, is it the
Historical
chair who has
The chair.
who has access?
Yep.
Okay. And could you give me
Absolutely.
privileges to update the MTC?
Yep. Typically what we do is we give there's different sets of rules for it. So in other words, you would get, I think it's called publishing. So like you can go in there, you can add things, and then once you save it, it'll send myself or Hassan a message saying that you tried to make changes. and then we go through it to approve them in case there's anything that's wrong with any like the reading, the font, if there's something wrong with legibility of it. Otherwise, we just publish it for you if it's good.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, that sounds like decent workflow. Just sort of approval workflow. Yeah, I'd love if you would just for my own knowledge. Not saying we have stuff to publish. I mean, I hope to get to the point we have stuff to publish, but love to be able to learn how to do it, and so we can guide other committees and so forth.
Yeah, Hassan is the one that I usually have do the training with the individuals. So you're more than welcome to set up a time with Hassan, and we can do that with you.
Okay. Okay, so I'll set up a time with Hassan. Okay, I'm just taking notes. Okay. Regarding user journey collection analysis, yeah, I'm going to start researching options for next fiscal year, not the one that's coming, but really it would be fiscal year. We're going into fiscal year 25, right? That's starting this July.
Correct.
So it'll be fiscal year 26 options. I know it's far way out, but I'd love to get something, start kicking around ideas, at least by this fall, for a system that can cover cross user journeys across all of our town properties, and do it at a reasonable cost. Some of the bigger ones, tools, they cost thousands of dollars per URL, and that's not going to be something we can cover. So I'll research options and come back to this group. Failover to secondary ISP. You want to comment on that, Jay?
Yeah, it's 100% complete. Did the failover test was a week before. Unplugged Verizon and everything kicked over to our other provider, 100%. And right back again when we plugged back in Verizon. So tested and working great.
Wahoo! Congratulations.
Yep.
I know it's been a long time in the works, and that's great news.
Yep.
Fantastic. So just for my own understanding, our primary provider, secondary failover is Verizon. Is that right? And our primary is
Verizon is our primary.
Okay.
Spectrum is our second.
Okay. Awesome. Anybody else's any comments or questions on that project? No? Okay. Wi-Fi revamp. How's that going, Jay?
So I was getting some quotes just today, with totaling some numbers together, with going with the Meraki system. I haven't had a chance to really, it came like literally at the end of the day. Haven't had a chance to really review it, and I have a call with them either tomorrow or Thursday. I just got to figure out which one they responded to me on, to talk about the quote. But that's the plan as of right now, is to switch over to Meraki as our Wi-Fi, upgrade a few switches in the process that are outdated or getting to that close end, or even some that I can just, especially with my primary switches, like I just need to get those upgraded and have them working in a proper layer 3 setup. But yeah, once I get over those reviews, once I review all of that this week, I'll come up with something to talk about the next meeting about it more in detail.
That's good. And remind me, you're considering getting quotes for Meraki switches as well. Is that right?
Yeah, Meraki switches as well. Yeah.
Awesome.
Not all of them, but at least a good portion of them.
Great. Okay. Anybody else's comments or questions about that? All right. Tech-related employee training for various different departments. Start with library. I have not done any follow-up. I think the next steps, Orla, you and I discuss. Yeah.
So just a quick heads up too. There are some departments that I'm going to start moving on to getting some training done and setting up some files for them, just because I'm trying to move some things along with this a little bit. Nothing to, you guys obviously have day jobs as well, so it's kind of tough to really, say, hey, you got to do it this way. So just a couple of other departments that I'm looking to kind of push along with some of the file moving and training as well. So
And
I'll keep
Jay,
you guys in the loop.
is that something the library can benefit? Like, are they included? Because we certainly don't need to be in the middle of it.
Yeah.
If some of what you're doing is already solving for what we talked about. So will they be included in that, or are you going more department by department?
Department by department, but also I am working with the library because they do have they have a lot of a different setup with their Gmail files that they share with local libraries. So I'm trying to incorporate, some of that and what we are going to be using with Office 365. So I don't want to take away from what they currently have because they're sharing with a lot of communities. So I just want to kind of make it more beneficial for their internal files. They don't have too many, so it makes it a little easier. So I'm going to help them a little bit with the internal files and trying to get it over to the SharePoint Office 365 platform.
Move it from Google Drive over to Office 365. Is that right?
No, I'm going to leave that with the Gmail because not everybody that they share the files with have Office 365. A lot of them have Gmail, Gmail suites and all of that. So they kind of share with other towns that don't have Office 365. So what I'm going to do is they have some files that are on the network, and I'm going to transition those to the Office 365.
Oh, okay.
platform.
Okay. They're already on the local
Yeah.
file server basically, and just move those over to SharePoint.
Yeah. And again, like I said, it's not that much, so it's going to be more of a one-on-one for the people that actually need specific training with it, because not everybody has a login, not everybody uses those type of share files. Some of them just check in books, check out books, and that's it. Or they just help people with other items in the library, so they don't necessarily have an account that they're moving files around with. So a lot of the full timers is who I have to kind of direct the training towards.
Okay. Well, yeah, I know, yeah, at least I've been delinquent. Love to work with you and Orla on pushing that forward. Really, I think as we discussed, use this as the preliminary, like let's get that. So I know Orla, would you have time next week or so to chat this? So,
yes.
So if you're available, Jay, I'd love to sit down with you and help you and work with you and support you in this as well.
Absolutely.
So, all right. We'll find time with you offline. All right. Youth and Family Services tech usage and training.
Yeah, so I did meet with Sarah and had a conversation about their training needs. I think that they felt pretty good about all of their main systems. My senior center, I think they said there were some other features that they could be using, but basically it was fine. The big thing that emerged from the conversation was specific training on OneDrive. And Jay, she did mention that you were already working on that. And so in addition to that, there was the idea of having some kind of data organization or data management type of training, kind of like best practices for how to organize data. So not just how do you use OneDrive, but how should departments kind of think about organizing all their materials. So I wanted to, I guess, ask you, Jay, is that something that's already part of the OneDrive training, or is there something that we could help with by creating something that could augment that training?
It is part of what we have been discussing, but by all means, I'm more than happy to welcome any assistance with youth and family on that.
Do you have like training materials that you can share that we can see like what's already there and then provide some additional feedback, or what's the best way to do it?
Or should we
I
create
don't,
from scratch?
yeah, it's really gonna be more of a hands-on, one-on-one approach with getting, yeah, nothing really specific as far as handwritten instructions. Um, or handwritten in training for that matter. But if that's something that you want to look into as well and assist me with, that would be great as well. If it's something like
She was
specific
talking
where
about tagging also, like, best practices in tagging and best practices for the data organization. Let me look into that, and then I can do some research, and I can send you over some of the stuff that I find. And then we can figure out the best way to incorporate it into the training. Maybe we can just give them a little handout that they can take as part of the training or something.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that idea. If we create sort of a template, a default template of what are the best practices for tagging, for data organization, for sharing, et cetera, that are applicable to any department.
Yeah.
And so hopefully when people start adopting OneDrive and SharePoint more, there's some sort of not necessarily uniformity, but at least there's some level of consistency and best practices incorporated. So yeah, Angela, if you could come up with some sort of a default doc, and then we can customize it per department based on their needs and deliver sort of the stock training plus the customization as needed. So that would be great. And I have not been keeping up with all of the capabilities of the tagging or notifications and so forth that has. So let's be great if we could.
Oh, and I'm sorry, I did want to mention one other thing that came out of that conversation. There was a recommendation that, or some feedback that it would be really helpful to have some kind of library for training modules. And then anytime a new employee starts, we could just, the departments could just go to some, I guess, space on the network, and there would be a listing of all the different training modules. Here's the OneDrive one, here's, introduction to the website. Here's, basically everything that a new employee for Southborough would need. And she was
Like an
saying,
onboarding
like a
packet.
video. Sorry, say that again.
So like an onboarding packet that gives
Yes.
you, yeah.
Yeah, that's we were talking about videoing any of the sessions we had, even if there were live sessions, to make sure to do video content so that it would be easy onboarding library overall for the town and for any particular groups that we're helping facilitate.
Yeah, I think for any of these training, we should make sure we record them and store them in some sort of library, which I'd say maybe we should have start an organization of OneDrive of video training for OneDrive. Right, where to find these? I think it'd probably be best to, obviously, for security and privacy, et cetera, reasons, not keep them on YouTube, but let's keep them in somewhere in OneDrive. So yeah, that sounds good. Okay, so just so I capture the action items, Angela, you'll come up with like an initial template. I'm keen to learn more about OneDrive as well, so I'll and I know Jay, you've given me access, so I will go ahead and start toying with it, and playing with it, and learning as well. And I can work with you, Angela, after you have a draft.
Angela, I saw from your email that there was this printer issue that that department had. Like they had like a process which that they had like a printing. So was that resolved already, or?
No, thank you for bringing that up. That was not so much on the training steps, but there was another part of the conversation where we talked about, in order to upload something to OneDrive, they first had to take a hard copy, they had to scan it via the printer, and then email it to themselves, then save it to the laptop, then upload it to OneDrive. So there was a question about whether there was a more efficient process that we could put in place. And I wanted to just ask you kind of separately, Jay, do you know if the printer that they're using has the ability to email directly as opposed to this kind of 4 or 5 step process that they're going through?
So I was not aware of the 4 to 5 step process, first of all, because typically when you can, I have 2 options set up for them over there, and I'll have to reach out to them and see what this is, because they can scan the scanners that they have, they can scan it, it'll go right to PDF, and then they can save it in OneDrive. Or if it's on that other machine that they have in the hall, then they can scan it from there. They have 2 options where they can scan it to email, or they can scan it to again, whenever they save something on their computer, it saves to OneDrive. Well, it saves to their local and cloud storage of OneDrive, because all of the laptops and desktops that are in town are logged into OneDrive. So they're automatically saving their desktop, their documents, their pictures, and all of that. Now, if they're trying to
Yeah,
take it
it
from there
sounds
and
like
put
it
it
could
on,
be a training issue.
yeah,
Maybe it's
exactly.
just, there's an
Yeah.
easier way to do it, but they're not 100% sure. But she
Yeah,
did say
exactly.
that
So maybe I'll
they're
reach out to them and see what's going on.
scanning it, then emailing it to themselves, then saving it down to their hard drive, then uploading it to OneDrive. So they're going through a pretty elaborate process.
Yeah,
Well, it sounds like, but maybe that's what it is. I mean, the scanners today email, I'm
Yeah.
guessing, and
Yeah.
so the
Right.
scan it sends it to email. They receive it in email. They save it, attachment from email to the local drive, and then they're uploading to OneDrive. So the open question is there a way for the scanners to go directly to OneDrive as opposed to sending it out through email? I know that many scanners can save to SMB shares or CIF shares, but I don't believe that exists in the world of OneDrive. OneDrive is
No.
all HTTP based, and I think I love the idea of long-term eliminating on-prem CIF shares if possible, but maybe keep one around just for this purpose. But I know that Ethan Family Services, they're also dealing with confidential documents, so you don't want to have
Yeah.
something saved in a common CIF share that anybody can
Yeah.
read from.
I definitely was not familiar with that, Angela, and I'll definitely look into that, because that should not be the case. I don't want to see them doing double work when they shouldn't be. Yeah, so I'll definitely look into that and find out what's going on.
Oh, great. Thank you so much.
Okay. Other updates from outreaches to departments. Well, before we get to that, let's go ahead and talk about emergency dispatch tech. Yash, do you want to cover that?
Yeah. So again, I'll start with a few more developments over the last month since we discussed. I think the recap was that last month we did talk with the chief and police chief and understood the process of the dispatches along with John Butler. So John came up with a write-up for what will be the next few steps that we would like to take, summarizing the entire problem as well as what kind of solutions it will be, and also proposing in there actually quite an elaborate process. I give it to the write-up that about how a virtualization between, let's say, 2 towns for dispatch can work. That was proposed by John. We have read the document, and it is quite an, I think, from a material of like what's step 1 to 3 4 about training and how people and personnel should be trained to get this thing going. That is quite good. One thing that is something that has to be explored is the infrastructure, technology infrastructure that is required for all of this, and that's what I've been trying to do for over the month and kind of understanding it. So Central Square is our main providers for everything. Let's say that they have a product called Unify. So they have like multi-tier solutions, and one of their newer products is Unify, with whose let's say the USP of that is, or the thing is, it's a CAD to CAD connection system it is more for cross-jurisdictional kind of text sharing of all your emergency aspects, as well as 911 call, PSAP to ASAP kind of scenario, PSAP to PSAP redirections, and all. If you look at all the modules that are present under that, it has more like, what kind of sharing do you want to do? Is it only like a say failover kind of mechanism, or is it more like you want to share your data also with the town that you are engaging with? And if I can get a permission, I can share the screen, because I had downloaded a good white paper, and this is the quick thing to share at this point.
Okay, you should have share now.
Okay. Okay. So, can everyone see?
Yeah.
Okay. So they do have something like, if you check this way, they have a white paper on this, like a borderless public safety response. Some of the important, I'll just touch on some of the important ones here, like situational intelligence. That is something that I liked about what they're trying to bring in the system. It's not only about, just, hey, we can talk to the next door the participating town with us, but it's also something like situational intelligence, and that can have something like, if you're responding to a particular scenario and your failover is kind of responding to it, then they have also the same knowledge that you have, as like the history of the place, perhaps, or if there were fewer other emergency visits that were done, is there a medical record to that place, or to the person that we are visiting, or is there some kind of a notes that one particular emergency visit had prepared, and is there some history? So that's something that they could share. And also, and they have more, as you go deeper into it, these are all modules that they can add, like cat to anywhere, then asset distributions. One of other things are more about like, how do you get across PSAPs and having failover options according to that. But this entire thing comes under this first tool set of, I'll say, sharing data, or kind of a virtual first step. It's not like a complete virtual scenario, but it is like a first step through the software. Okay, so I'll just stop sharing for now. I have requested them for I have sent out an email to ask for a contact, like, so if they can take a call with us, and perhaps Matt, we can take a call with them, just to understand, or maybe go on for like our requirements, and what all do they do right now, what all can they provide, and what all. And obviously the costing structure becomes the next part of it, but at least for the proof of concept or pilot program that John Butler has described in his write-up, that needs this kind of a technology interface, I'll say. So, or else we will never be able to get it done on a full basis. So one of
Yash, is the idea to do a pilot? Is that what the proposal is?
the
Oh, there isn't a proposal, right?
I don't think there's a
there
proposal in place.
isn't-
Yeah. So go ahead, Yash.
Yeah, there isn't a proposal. There is a what if scenario and what could be done. So right now it's more standing like I'll say it's a straw man scenario. If we want to make it a proposal, then it needs to be backed with some more data from our side as to the technology needs and what can be provided, as well as some.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So it's more just a validation to say, is there something that looks possible? And then if there's interest based on that, you'd have to determine.
And the one big problem with this,
Yeah.
not sorry for that, Matt, but is that we need a partner. This is not a one-sided thing. We need a partner to be equally accepting of a pilot program. So maybe Hinton or anyone else. Yeah.
Got it.
So basically, up till now, the conversation in town has been, there's a dichotomy. Staying with local dispatch,
Mhm.
local 911, local CAD, computer-aided dispatch, and everything local. That's one part of the dichotomy. The other
Mhm.
part is then regionalize. And both have their merits. There's a lot of, the state would like us to regionalize. There's some concern with giving up, especially there's a lot of concern about giving up autonomy and giving up the 911 if we had to regionalize it,
Mhm.
because we would never be able to get it back. So basically the question is there a third option, which is rather than the traditional sense of regionalizing, which is basically just increasing your domain, you're basically creating a central call center, and everybody physically commutes to that building and all of your dispatchers work there, and it vacates your local center, which is
Mhm.
concerning. Is there a happy medium where you still can have people local, but they're part of something that is
Central
broader?
call. Yeah.
And that's where this sort of CAD to CAD sharing of data is foundational between these. And so it sounds like we even have a product that might enable some of this concept of a virtual dispatch. And so part of our questioning, and thank you, Yash, for setting this up, part of our questioning would be then is who's doing this, which departments are already doing it, and rather than us coming, ideally we think, oh, it makes sense for us to partner with some place like Northborough because they're right next door and so forth. Well, that makes sense possibly for a regional when you're physically create a physical building. But if this is purely virtual sharing, we potentially could partner with any other community within the state that's possibly already doing this with other communities. And where we maintain our local dispatch, but we just simply create a sharing agreement. That way, we're not both going into this sort of blind or new to it, but we could be
Mhm.
joining in an existing structure. That way, we can sort of have our cake and eat it too. We're not embarking on something that's unknown, a new community.
Yeah.
We're leveraging and learning from communities that are already doing this in place, and we get to keep our local dispatch.
Gotcha.
I think Matt, but the larger sense, it would make more sense if we can get some of our neighboring town into this because, or as a partner, because it then expands the capabilities. Like if you get a town, no doubt there can be a partner or a for exploration who's doing something similar, maybe away from us. That's fine as a failover option to handle our scenarios. But when it comes to uh, sharing data on a response time basis, then I don't feel that we can, like, we are here and we cannot talk to, let's say, Holden for a scenario like North or Worcester right now, but something like a local one where the failover goes and they can respond uh, equally with some good data, and they also have some situational understanding of what is there plus geographical understanding of what's happening here. So that is, I think we'll have to, my opinion is to bring in, if we want to do this, someone in the vicinity, if not like a direct town neighbor.
If we could find it, that would be
If we can find it.
nice. Yeah. So okay, well, thank you for exploring these things.
If they come back to us with some representative, I'll set up a call. We'll talk to you, Matt. We can take a call with them and get, and anyone else who's interested from the technology committee, let me know. We can schedule that way.
Sounds good. Okay, any other questions or comments for Yash on public safety tech? Okay, other committees outreach. Has anybody else been able to do? Joe, you have a comment or question?
I have a meeting with conservation on Friday, so a little later than I wanted to be, but I should have good data before next meeting. Try to cover all the ground, but we'll schedule follow-up if needed. I still need to circle back to planning to reintroduce the training question. So I hope to do that within next week as well. And there was no, with the staff changes at school, in the school district, I hadn't had any follow-up with the school outreach. I was thinking just contacting Superintendent Martineau, but I know you had a conversation when we talked last, so I wanted to hold off until we got to talk here.
Yeah, from my understanding, they have still not filled, or I have not heard of them filling the role. the school can fill the role. So I think we're still the holding pattern there. Orla, do you have a question or comment?
No, my only comment was going to be that I am also going to meet with the DPW on Friday.
Nice.
And I spoke with building and facilities. They believe that they are in good shape and do not need any training. So they felt very comfortable on all of their systems and didn't voice any needs for anything. And then we decided that we would hold off on recreation because Tim Davis is stepping into a new role. And so we are going to wait until the new director of recreation gets named and then set up a time with them.
Okay. Based on I can't remember whether it was the building facilities department, but whenever we reach out to these, it'd be good to ask the groups what sort of documents they're handing around via email. I'll have to review my notes and I can get back to you, but one of these departments, I think it's either building or either planning or building facilities or in between the two, they've been emailing massive docs. And this is a perfect use case for OneDrive. Stop emailing things, like put it on a shared drive.
Yeah, I agree. And you said that was you said that was planning?
I'm going to look through my notes. I think it was between building and facilities and planning, or one other. I'll get back to you and let you know. But yeah, they were basically emailing between the two, and yeah, I think. Go ahead,
there's a there's definitely that, and I've done this numerous times over the last 3 years, trying to put an understanding to file systems and where they can, people have access rights to certain folders and certain files, and especially those departments, they have an interchangeable filing system that they can share files within, and for some reason it continues to be like an email instead of like, hey, go to this folder, it's right here. So it's not for lack of trying, it's just for maybe lack of understanding of something. This is not the first time this has happened to me. My past has been the same way. People are sharing files via email and they all have the same resources on the network to gain access to those files. So again, it could just be a lack of training that I need to look into as well.
Do you have the ability, Jay, and you don't have to disclose, of course, any of the detailed raw information, but do you have the ability of doing reports on quotas used in email?
Yes, absolutely.
So maybe if you don't have to disclose individual names of individuals, but if you could at least do your own report and then sort of point us to the departments that are using a lot of email quota. Anybody who's using massive quotas in emails, that's sort of a possible indicator that.
And they can only send so much outside of the building too, so that's a whole other quota that they can't reach. So that might be a best approach as far as finding who the culprits are. And getting them done.
Yeah. Be good candidates for who to reach out to. All right, let's
habits too. It's just changing habits.
It is. Email's been around for a long time. Everybody just uses email and passing docs. Why not just create a new draft and email it out, and create a new draft and email it out, and
CC everyone.
Exactly.
Version
All right.
1, 2, version N.
Yeah. All right, let me share my screen here. Here's the current issue tracker. In terms not issue tracker, but board assignment tracker, just for our review. In fact, I should do.
Quick question, because I was looking on the finance treasury accounting team, and there's, I guess, a lead by accountant, treasurer, and assessor. So is there one that I should connect with, or do we need to include all four?
Who's the town accountant? So Yash has the office of the assessors.
Okay, perfect. So that's separate. So then it's treasury, finance, and accounting, which is, there's a chief accountant and then there's a treasurer. I don't know if
I
it's
think
Brian.
Brian is the accountant. Is that right, Jason? Okay.
Yes, Brian
Okay.
is the accountant, and also treasurer as well, but also David is also part of the treasury department as well.
Okay. So yeah, I think Brian should be the main contact there.
So on the website, it says the town accountant is Carla McAuliffe. Is that not
Yep.
correct?
Nope, that's
Okay.
correct. The town accountant and the treasurer finance are two separate.
Okay, Brian is
entities.
treasury.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brian is treasury finance, and then the accountant is Carla. So there's an accounting department, and then there's a treasury finance department.
Yes.
Oh,
And
interesting.
see, the contact information for treasury on the website is David Berry.
David Berry. Yep, David Berry is the treasury. And so because Brian handles pretty much that entire department. It's
Okay, got it.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Are there any other boards, committees that we need to have coverage of at this moment, this time? Our goal is to have not 100% coverage, but like, 90% coverage. Yeah, yes, you have.
Share this primary contact details again on email with the entire committee, because some of these were not available last time, so could not contact them. So something like planning board. I think this is good new information. Karina Quinn and maybe Luttrell. I can contact
Sure. Yeah, if you share with me, yeah, I'll share this doc out. If you have updates to it, let me know.
And Matt, survey, because I see here it says relevant to 2022 survey questions. I assume there's also some questions from 2023 that are relevant. Can you remind me where the survey results are? Is that on a share, or is that something?
It's on sborough.org, which is a completely separate town. It's not a town, it's a web property that I run. So yeah, town survey results is on sborough.org.
Okay.
And it's broken down by the department. One thing this is just the summary of the statistics.
Yeah.
One thing that I will do, and this would be, so I will do, one thing I did not do is include in here the raw individual feedback, like the free text feedback.
Yeah.
But I'll share that with each of you respectively for your departments that you cover. So you can then go to them and say, hey, here's the results of the survey, including the free text. And it'd be great to walk through with them the free text responses and ideas for suggested improvements. Some of them are technology related, others are not. Like DPW, it's like, I want my pothole repaired, and there's a lot of standard requests like that. Related to DPW, and Orla, you have DPW. I think this is actually a question for Sam, who's in our audience. So I'm going to allow you to talk, Sam. From my understanding, there's a program or a technology service that is in use by Framingham or some other related city that allows for better interaction community reporting of issues. And it's something that we have started to explore. And if so, Orla, it'd be great if you were involved in that conversation.
Okay.
Yeah. Sam, do you have to share with us
Yeah,
about that?
yeah, Matt, that's correct. Marguerite Landry, one of the select board members, actually ran across this, and I can't remember. Jay, you have something about point click report or something. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
it's actually it's called C-Click Fix.
C-Click
It's a
Fix.
site that's part of Civic Plus. Civic Plus, obviously, another company that just purchased them out. So now they own it. Part of the conglomerate of Civic Plus, it feels like. But it identifies locations that you're trying to, like if there's a pothole or you're just trying to report something that's in the street. You can do that on there. I had a preliminary meeting today actually with them to kind of have an intro to understand what they're for, and then I was going to be sending out information to Marguerite as far as like the timing that they have available to get the different departments that want to get involved with it or are interested in it in some way. I will say that the price point is not the best. Or also it's not budgeted in the sense for it. It is a pretty pricey tag for something that we could maybe look in different angles to get the information to see if it's worth the funding, I would say. But that's just my opinion right now. I'm stating only because of my preliminary call with them. You know, because we are in the process of even creating a form on the website that people could sign up and report a problem on there as well, which is just included with what we currently have with Civic Plus, instead of having to pay an additional fee for another service. Again, that's
And
just what I've
Jason,
seen
did we get a
preliminary.
sense of Framingham or whoever is using it, like what their experience has been, or have they seen good adoption?
Yeah, so I have a connection over at Framingham that I can reach out to as well. If you actually go to Framingham's website, you can see it on their website. They have a location. Yeah, so it's similar to this right here. So they just come in there. You can see different locations that issues have been reported. There's a module where it will part of this whole module is it can create tickets, work orders, SLA timing in the background. And you know, once you update the resident on the issue, it'll update the ticket on the system to let them know that that's been looked at, or it's open, or it's closed, what the status is. So there's a lot of meat in the background when it comes to this application. Obviously the only question is it worth the price, budgeting something like this in the future to do something at this capacity? And is it necessary? I guess that goes to the community. Is it necessary for us to, have to pay for something like this? Or will it be utilized a lot?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Is it just going to be an application that we're spending X for and then only gets used twice a year, where we can just have a form on the website and have people update what their issue is and have it get reported to the right places? Again, this is just my thoughts and opinions on this so far. And I am going to be opening up obviously to Marguerite and having her talk about it more. I think it's even on her agenda for the select board, if I'm not mistaken.
Jay, and I don't want to speak for Marguerite. This is Sam. I've heard her talk about this a fair amount. And I think her concern has been that we do a pretty poor job of tracking resident comments these days. And select board is leading the charge on the guilty parties there. And that we'll get comments from people via email, and it's not clear who's following up, how it's followed up. No reporting that I'm aware of in terms of resolution of issues. So I think her concern was just from a customer service standpoint. It would be great if we had a primary reporting point for most, if not all, departments that generate statistics periodically on how many questions, comments did we have, which ones were followed up on, which are still open, et cetera, and generating some data about customer feedback on a variety of things. And I think she was very fond of the photographic part of this, to see here's somebody can provide photographic evidence, just like we see on the screen here, that make it much easier for people to understand exactly what the concern is. and then give them some more hard data to start following up on. So I don't think Marguerite was necessarily concerned about the see, click, fix, whatever issue as much as a structure for doing it. And she apparently had a conversation with somebody in Framingham who claimed to know the economics of it. And the price that she reported was $6,500 a year for Framingham to do this, which didn't strike her as a steep hill to climb necessarily. Jay, I don't know if you got a much more expensive estimate from these folks.
Much more expensive estimate today. So, and it's actually in the contract. It says that it can go up 5% every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again, a lot of data to be followed up on here, but I think the concept is that I think Marguerite was interested, and I think the select board's supportive of having a more structured process for following up on these kind of things consistently across all departments. So that's sort of where this came from. So much to follow up on later.
There really is no real process in place currently for any of this. So, yeah, absolutely, there's something that needs to be worked on.
Which I guess would be a key piece, irrespective of the tool, then, because it's often easy to put the tool out there, but then as people start logging things, how do you make sure they are getting actioned and tracked?
Yeah, it has effect on business processes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems like a
But I mean,
fairly
it looks pretty slick.
easy to use tool.
Yep.
And
And it's also all app driven. So you download an app. They encourage you to download the app so you can take the pictures right from your phone and just upload them right into the app. So it's definitely a powerful tool. It definitely has the ability to be a very helpful tool. But again,
and Jay, you mentioned you were looking at a form for the website. So are you just planning to use Microsoft Forms, and then because you can put some workflow behind that too, right?
Yeah, exactly. So there's the ability on the website to create forms and have notifications being sent to specific people for specific categories that you select when you're filling out the form. I'm trying to think of the other town that does it that we looked at. I can't think of it off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
And that then I assume all those queries would get stored in a database that then could be reported upon, etc.
Yeah, exactly. So you're able to pull out reports out of that and see
But somewhat of a poor man's version, because you don't have, I assume, the photos, etc. But maybe it's at least if that's something you could do immediately, it would be interesting to get that stood up to just see how much traffic.
Exactly. And that's my thought behind this, is like to kind of see, even if we did something like that off the rip, and just having that out there for residents to do. Now, if we start to see a very big uptick in this utilization of this form, then then maybe we look into something like this. But if it's something that we put out there and it's used 3 times out of the whole year, is it worth the cost of spending this money if it's only going to be used a few times out of the year? So
we should think about the workflow as well in terms of what are our goals here, and those goals are not only for people to report things and to do so simply via their mobile devices, but also to collect, have the ability to assign the issues. So it's a workflow management tool. Be able to assign the issues, be able to comment on the issues, have multiple comments on show the history of the issue and how it's being worked on, who's commenting on it, adding additional pictures to the issue as you go. Here's an example from Marlborough. Looks like Marlborough and Natick and Framingham are already using this, but also track on the back end the statistics on who's handling it, how quickly was it handled, and how quickly was it resolved. And if Civic Plus offers something apart from this that already does workflow management that is publicly available, that people can see what's been reported, say, hey, rather than report the pothole again, I'm just going to comment on that existing pothole. Yeah. I'm guessing that what Civic Plus offers out of the box is simply a submission tool. You can submit.
Yeah, it's not going to be
department.
Yeah, it's not going to be something like this where it's incorporating a GIS system in the background and and having the ability to upload pictures. Obviously, this is as I said, it's a much more powerful tool with this. This is more going to be a submission and reporting system in the sense of understanding who's submitting those requests. But yeah, this is definitely, I agree, it's definitely a powerful system. It can be utilized, again, if it's being utilized a lot, it definitely makes sense to do something like this.
And
There's a lot
maybe
more
that's
people
back to, I
involved.
guess, Matt, your point of, well, what is it we're trying to solve for and what the requirements are, and could we get those detailed out? Because I think also that something like this, right, it creates a level of transparency
Yeah.
that folks could appreciate. But I think having that comprehensive view of what the requirements look like would help.
Yeah, so it'd be good to, if you're reaching out to the Public Works or allowed to maybe
Yeah, I
discuss
wrote that down.
this, and also reach out to Marguerite if you wouldn't mind, in the select board, because she's keen on this. I
Yep.
like, to me, I love the visibility. I love being able to see, okay, here's a retaining wall that's collapsing. It was originally reported on the 16th, and of course, I'm just an anonymous viewer. I don't have to be logged into the system.
Mhm.
I'm sure I can see this from my mobile device. And it was assigned to Public Works Dispatch. And then, here's a thank you, thanks for reporting to this, on the 16th. And then the 17th, somebody added photos to say, hey, here's additional information. This retaining wall is collapsing. I want to do something about it. And add another photo, and I think, engineers look at solution. And then what happened? Something didn't happen, and 15 months since no resolution. And multiple people are concerned about it. So you can sort of see the whole history, and it's fully transparent. It doesn't go into some black hole. And I think that's what we've heard a lot from town residents is they submit ideas through email, and changing from email to a website submission form, it still wouldn't necessarily allow it to be transparent. This would go a long way to quelling a lot of people's concerns. So
Mhm.
I'd be supportive, but of course it has to be a reasonable price, and so we can.
And then I think also, right, each of the departments committing to responding, because otherwise you have what you have here, which is something that sits there for 12 months, and then it only actually infuriates people even more.
Sure, yeah. Okay, well, thanks, Orla, for looking into this, and so forth. All right, any other committees that we should that are
Sorry, just
outreach?
before we close the loop on that one. So Jay, if you are having any conversations, I guess, do you want to just loop me in versus me going off independently, reaching out to Marguerite? Because it sounds like you're already going to be reaching out
Yeah,
to her.
absolutely.
So
When I reach out to her, I'll let you know. I'll put you in on what
perfect.
goes on. And again, like I said, we're going to be having a combined meeting with other departments and Marguerite, and if again that one too.
Yeah, no,
is
just
involved.
include me. That would be great. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Awesome, thank you. All right, really quickly, just overview on the latest, the SAM and Cable Committee technology. We've learned that the SAM is renewing the contract with one of our cable providers in town, though the funds as part of that could potentially be received from renewal of that contract basically will be limited for use for the broadcast SAM capabilities only. So in parallel with that, and working with Sam Stivers and Select Board, they're keen to look into new options for meeting room technology, especially moving towards self-service, more self-service, like we have in public safety, as well as latest technologies around auto framing and so forth. And so not much to update here other than Jay and I are collaborating on it. And when we have something, we'll bring it back. Jay, do you have anything else to add or correct what I just said?
No, that's kind of what's happening too. I've also had a couple more meetings with the director over at SAM. And I'm actually meeting with her tomorrow at Northborough to kind of look at some additions that have been happening over at Northborough with the company she works with. So yeah, once I have some more information, I'll share that with you guys and see which way we want to go.
Okay. Thanks. Only other thing I have on my agenda is I wanted to get some thoughts on tricentennial celebration technology. So, for everybody's awareness, Southborough is coming up on its tricentennial, and there's a committee that's been organized for the tricentennial celebration and this most recent annual the town meeting. A minor budget, some budget has been started for allocation for that. I thought that we should be thinking about, and I would love to start collecting ideas for what if there's any technologies related to technologies that we want to consider using as part of the celebration. Think like, do we want to partner with the historical commission or whatever to build virtual town tour? What was it like? You know, what it would, you know, some sort of mobile app. I don't know if this exists. You can do something off the shelf, but you have to do a self-guided tour through Southborough either today, and also just talk about what was there 300 years ago. What was the town like when it was first incorporated? What structures were first built, etc. And that's the only idea I had so far. So love to.
Not like I never did the Pokemon, but I'm like, is this a little bit like Pokemon?
Something like that, exactly. Virtual reality experience.
Yeah.
Put on the goggles and you see all the people roaming around with their oxen and
I guess, yeah, what about like also, I don't know if there's people that have either photos, video, probably not so much, like that we could collect that you could then create, right, a slideshow.
Yeah, we
Or
did
something
something
along
for
those
one of my
lines, I mean,
company's 50-year celebration where they got like a bunch of old technology and showed the evolution of technology through time. So, you know, it started with like a very old Mac and just kind of showed how stuff, you know, that could be maybe interesting for the kids to see some of the really old technology if we still had any laying around that we could dig up.
yeah, or if there's even like, how did, I don't know, the train station run, you know, and how technology's changed, I guess, in that respect, or some of the offices, I don't know. That sounds like maybe it hasn't changed that much. Some cases.
so this is just an invitation to start to brainstorm. That's all.
Mhm.
So I've captured a couple of those ideas, and we'll have to continue. In fact, if we have somebody who's a volunteer to be a liaison with the Tricentennial Committee, that would be great as well. I don't know how frequently they meet, but anybody who's interested in that, is there anybody here who's interested in being the liaison to the Tricentennial Committee?
I was just gonna say that they meet once a month, just the same as most other committees.
Okay. Yeah, we don't have to have somebody, but if somebody decides they want to do that, let me know. Nice, and Daniel. Otherwise, I'll just collect ideas and feed it to them.
And we could also let them know that if they come up with technology needs, to make sure to reach out to us.
Yep. In fact, I'd be happy to volunteer for that one. So maybe I'll put myself there. I'll reach out to them. All right. I don't have anything else on the agenda tonight. Did I miss anything else that needs to be discussed? No. If not, thank you, everyone.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
When I signed up for the committee and got sworn in, etc., I have a vague recollection that it was through May of this year, which I remember thinking at the time, oh, that's only 6 months. But I don't know if I need to do anything.
Where is the most recent appointments? Is there appointment stock on the website, Jay?
Yeah,
Showing when
there's
the
under
appointments
boards
are
and
expire?
committees. Yeah, so if you go to the MTC page, and on the right-hand side of your committee, You should see, it says click here to view memberships in all boards and committees. I could have sworn that that would have been a year, Orla, because most of them are a year, so. I'm
Yeah, no,
surprised.
maybe I remember, like, I thought it was May because I just remember thinking it was short.
Pull it up.
Technology.
You're
Yeah,
you're
6:30,
there
24.
until 6:30. I think it was
24.
because it was a replacement of
Oh, yes. Yeah,
the seat that was held.
vacated.
Yep.
Okay, well, thank you for pointing it out, because I just discovered
Hey,
that
you
my
too,
appointment
Matt.
ends also. Yes, it ends end of June. So yours and mine, Orla, ends of June, and yours is a select board appointment, Orla. And so we will work with select board. Mr. Stivers, would be great to add to select board agenda for appointment of reappointment of Orla. I'll follow up with you on that. And then I'll approach the library board of trustees, my appointment, and we're the only ones that expire this year. And then
Yeah.
Joe, yours and Angela's expire next year. Joe's is by the school committee, and Angela, yours is the select board. So
Matt, this is Sam again. Typically, the select board gets a list of anybody whose appointment is expiring in early June and will send out a notice asking people if they are interested in being reappointed. Most people fortunately say yes. And then we will vote sometime later in June to reappoint people as a group. So it's a group kind of thing. I'm a little
process.
surprised, Orly, you've not heard anything yet, but that's pending. here.
Okay, perfect.
okay, well, great. That's fantastic. All right, let's find a time for our next meeting, June meeting. Everybody can pull up calendars. Here we're on the 20th of May currently. What do people's calendars look like for the week of the 17th or 24th?
So I cannot do the 18th, but I can do the 17th or the 19th. And the following week, I have away.
Okay, how does the 17th look for everybody?
17th works.
Oh, that's good.
I think it should work.
Looks
right now.
pretty good. Trying to see if I've got. Oh, looks good to me.
And Jay, that works for you? Great, and Angela?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Okay, let's plan
Are
on
we
the
going
17th.
back to 6:30 or?
You know, Yash has a challenge with work, right? 6:30 would be a challenge. Is that
30
right,
is
Yash?
30 is fine. Like if I'm late, I'll message.
Okay. Is there a preference? Would you propose, Angela, we go back to 6:30?
I mean, I'm fine with either 6:30 or 7. I just wasn't sure what time we're doing. Earlier is always better for me, but if we're gonna have people.
Let's keep for 6:30. That's fine. I'll try and make it. If not, like it might be 10 minutes late. So
Okay. Does that work? 6:30 work for everybody then? Okay, we'll do 6:30. All right. Let me put my notes. 6:30 on June 17th. All right, let's I move that we adjourn.
Seconded.
So seconded. Let's go around the room. Orla,
Aye.
Angela,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Yash,
bye.
and likewise I. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your month.
Thank
Have a good
you.
memorial. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.